But let's start it if we can.
Yep.
Can everyone hear?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, let's start with public comment. I'm sure Bob's got something. If we go through the order here, let's go to Bob and it has to do with the sign, correct, Bob?
Yes,
That we were looking at trying to help get made.
right. The sign is, Paul and I have been talking about it, but we haven't gotten too far, but we've talked about it. It would be an interpretive sign. So you have history in the streets, which are the signs that you see around town, and they're vertical in between two posts. And this sign might be a little different. It might be more of an angled kind of tabletop sign, which would be more horizontal and would take on the look of a timeline, historic timeline. But that's wide open for discussion. I don't think we've settled on anything. I know Paul has done a lot of research with getting photos together and trying to figure out the timeline, what was in and around that site over the course of the past century or so. And so that was the concept. Paula, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I've just been reaching out, trying to get photos. I think we have a good idea what used to happen there. We just need some photos.
According to Mayo, he's super historian, he can't find any photos, including what Dean had sent him, of that location. They used to play football. His dad literally played football on that field because the football field wasn't built then. But he can't find anything as far as a photo related to that location.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that somebody could have at least someone they used to freeze it over or something.
If it was something similar to what you have here in these photos about the auto industry, the stuff that you sent me on the history of Laingsburg,
Yes.
all of those items, I don't see why we couldn't put, I don't know how many, but several of those items into or onto this, not specifically located at that one location, but all of what Laingsburg is or was. And I think that could be okay. It wouldn't be just that location because we can't seem to come up with anything directly for just that one location.
That's true.
Paula,
Yes.
Sandra said she was gonna look at the library stuff when I emailed her, but she hasn't gotten back to me yet. So there's still that option.
Okay.
So where would you put the sign?
Somewhere near the amphitheater. We're not really sure on the location yet, but probably by the sidewalk near the amphitheater.
Gotcha.
I really like that sign and the way that one's set up different than the other ones for that location.
Yeah.
And then if it was just wrapped around the history of Laingsburg, I don't think that would be out of line instead of just for that specific location. Does anyone agree, disagree?
Do we have dates on those pictures?
Yeah, we have a lot of dates, Mike.
Okay, because I
No,
can
no.
see where that would work real good by when you add it, put the amphitheater on there too at the bottom too, and the years so that it shows it.
What would be the longevity of that sign like that, Bob? Being more flat, catching more snow and weather and.
It'll hold up really well. We've been doing this for a while now, and all of our signs seem to be holding up extremely well. They've
Okay.
improved the technology a lot. So the ultraviolet light really doesn't fade the colors. And the
Right.
light expectancy, they said, is anywhere between 10 to 30 years.
Oh, great.
You know, so they're pretty durable. The biggest threat to these signs is vandalism. And, you know, if somebody takes a sledgehammer to something, I mean, there's no way that you can guard against that. But even if they spray paint it with paint, you can use a solvent that'll take the paint off and the finish of the sign will remain. So even that, we've been able to rescue the signs pretty good. I've been just flabbergasted in that none of the signs that I see have been damaged or vandalized.
None of ours have been touched, and they've been up since what, 2013 or 14?
Yeah. So, I mean, that says a lot about the community and the respect that they're willing to show. I mean, this is a tribute to Laingsburg. It really is, because other areas, I mean, you put something like that up that's nice, and it's damaged within the first month. So this says a lot about the community.
The other thing about the way that is designed is you couldn't stand behind it and deface it either. You'd be seen defacing it, whereas the other ones, you could literally stand on one side, especially if that was facing City Hall, you know what I'm saying? And you could do something to the opposite side of that without being seen. I'm thinking about a kid. Whereas in this case, you would be right, no matter what you do to it, you're going to be out in the open and be visible, either reading it or defacing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with the police department being right there, I know there's a lot of kids hanging out at that park, and they go behind the restroom there. I know that. But I think with the police department being there and you know, City Hall being right there, yeah, there's a lot of visibility in that area. So if we keep it kind of open where people can see them, like you're saying, I think that would help.
I agree.
I like
if we can just put similar photos together, smaller photos of locations in Laingsburg or businesses or even people, meaning Mr. Lang, who was, that started Laingsburg, the small photos of those underlined, and then history, small bits of history to read would be fine. Like I said, finding a specific picture just for that location ended up being pretty tough, I guess.
Yeah, even you said you could get Lang. You could get a picture of Mr. Lang. That'd be cool.
That would be.
Yeah. That one that you sent me, Paul, is a picture of him, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so even if we were just...
That's a picture of Peter Lang.
Which he could maybe even be in the center, and then you feed off with your lines with other things that happened. We have a whole list of items that you sent me that have been in Laingsburg over a long period of time. The Wobbles Garage and the Hudson dealer, the Ford dealer, the pickle factory. There's several items that were here, manufactured here, that people may not still know about, that we could put there as the history of Laingsburg.
So a lot of that has already been covered on our other signs, but not in a timeline like we're talking about. So, I mean, some of it may be duplicated information, just, and the other issue is, we're running short on time trying to get this done. So I need some help picking what's gonna go on the sign.
I like the idea of a picture of Mr. Lang. I don't think there's one in town. I think that's pretty cool.
You know, a lot of times too, if you can identify the exact date that the city was incorporated, and if you have any history before that of it evolving, you know, a lot of people are interested in how this started and why it's here. Maybe you could answer some of those questions. Sometimes in our signs, what we'll do is we'll ask a question, then provide an answer, or ask a question and see if you can find the answer in the sign somewhere. Sort of a brain teaser, try to get younger kids involved, if it's like a little bit of a puzzle. And the answer might be very obvious, but you know, you get a child that's maybe 8 or 10 years old who's reading the sign, and then they have to equate it with something in the timeline. It at least begs them to answer the question. So there's different things we can do along those lines.
What's the timeline of completing the sign?
Well, we're supposed to spend the money by June 30th.
Okay.
Who's putting it together, Bob? Who actually is like doing the design and putting the sign together? It's like we give them the information, they help us put it together.
Bob,
We put it together in our office. We've got some graphic designers who, you know, can manipulate all of the technology and make it into a readable sign. And we do that. We get that to the high density, and then we give it to the sign maker where they actually manufacture it. So the content, if you guys can provide the content, because that's usually the most involved, and then we'll come up with first cut, a preliminary, and then you would review it, make your edits, we change it, then we do a round, and then it's usually good to go.
So,
you know,
so all the money goes to you. So when we buy the sign, we're going to buy it right from you then, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
so it's going to be just like the ones we already did, Richard. We're going to design it. Bob's going to throw together the pictures and the language. We're going to send it out for printing at a print shop. They're going to build it. The DPW is going to put together some sort of a bracket to sit it on.
I got you. So to spend the money, we have to pay the sign company.
At this point, what I need is help with the content, not how we're going to build it, but what content are we having on it? The rest of it,
I'm just trying to get to the point of spending the money. You know, I'm just looking at that to see, you know, even if it's not 100% complete.
We've already agreed to spend the money. We're trying to decide what's going on the sign.
Right, but we have a deadline of June 30th. That's what I'm trying to get at, just so we can meet our obligation to spend the money.
I guess we have to just narrow down what goes on it one way or another, and how we do that being photos or a something that you're going to read and then connect the dots is fine. We just need to get that, whatever it is, to Bob so that he can refine it, and then we can send it off to the sign company to have them actually build what it is that's going to go on the sign.
I mean, if you folks are good with the timeline, we can just play off of that with a lot of the existing events and photographs and put something together in a mock-up so you can review it. But that's the direction that we need from you.
So I really like the idea of a timeline, and I would just recommend that. Hey, Bob, do you have a record of what photos are already on our other signs? Do you know what photos have already been used?
Yeah,
You do. So my only recommendation is that we make sure that we try, within reason, to have unique photos on this plaque. Because I think it's really, you know, to Paula's point, if you're touring the community because you're here for the weekend or something, and you start seeing the same image on more than one plaque, after two plaques, you don't read anymore. You don't go to the third plaque. You're like, it's just, you know, they've got 3 pictures. So I think the only challenge is to make sure that the images are unique. That would be my only suggestion. But I agree with Mark that I like the idea of a timeline of any sort. I don't think, I mean, if you have the photos and you have the A-OK to just go ahead with a timeline, I'm hearing you say that you could just mock something up for us. Is that correct? Or
Yes.
do you need the years and the event and do you need the actual words and language as well from us?
Well, in the past, you've produced quite a bit of that already. I think, and I'll lean on Paul for this one, but I'm thinking that we can extract from what we have or didn't use before to identify the timeline, events, or places, and then see what we're missing. And sometimes when you don't have a photograph, you could use some sort of a diagram or sometimes a symbol or something other than a photograph to indicate what it was. And that might be a little bit of an artist's license, but we'll do the best we can on that.
So it sounds like you have enough to at least take a start at it. What do we need to do to give Bob the green light to just proceed? Can we make a motion or do we need to make a motion or can we just say, hey, go to it?
I think go to it. I think if he's got, Bob, if you have at least enough information from the other signs to not duplicate several times, there's still a ton of pictures, correct, Paula? And
I think there are. I mean, I don't think we've duplicated any photos on the other signs, but I feel like trying to do a timeline, you know, and not duplicate any of those might be an issue.
no, if you even took one photo from each of those signs, that would not be that. I mean, that would be fine. It's not, just like she said, not to duplicate over and over again.
Right.
But if you were to take each photo,
That we have at least one unique picture somewhere on the plaque. At least one fresh, unique, interesting picture that isn't on any of the other plaques. That would be nice. It would be a nice to have.
Yeah, I think we put Mr. Lang on there and then do a timeline around that. Just have only his photo on there.
yes, center him up on the canvas, and then put your smaller photos underneath, and then your timelines beside or coming off of him.
Right.
It sounds like that'd be fine.
Do we have any other pictures of what's in the bowl and what it used to be, like the pickle factory, the ice rink, the sledding hill?
Yes, we
Mail.
have lots of photos, but the pickle factory and the grist mill and the circus have already been put on the other signs. But I'm trying to find photos of the ice rink and like fireworks thing. I mean, we're really coming against a problem. Some of the problem is there weren't a lot of photos then. So some of the people that even when they were in high school, their parents didn't have cameras. So that's some of the information I'm getting from people.
And Browning.
So are you just going to make a couple of mock-ups that we'll look at? Is that what will happen here?
Well, the issue is you guys don't meet again till the end of June. So I don't know how you want to do that, Bob.
Can we contract with the sign company right now and so that portion is like paid so that we don't miss out on our deadline, even though the sign might not get made? That's kind of what I was trying to get at about who was going to make the sign.
So do any of our existing placards focus on the downtown historic buildings?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, just curious.
It would be really beneficial for everyone to look at those if you haven't, because we have laid out a lot of timelines on that, and we did a lot of what's there now versus what used to be here. So
You think it would be redundant? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I think that we can make it work, and that's what I don't want to be, is like completely redundant. But I feel like we didn't depict Peter Lang a lot. We didn't, we didn't talk about a lot of that older stuff. So I think we can make it work. I was trying to make it work with just the site, but I don't think I can. I don't know if I can get enough.
So I would be comfortable having Bob just pick a couple of pictures that he thinks are really cool or especially interesting and just play with it, take a crack at it.
Yeah, I think the power in this sign is the sort of sequential events and where they fit within the timeline. We can embellish it with different images and different items. Maybe there's an icon, maybe it's a flame icon where the opera house burnt down, and maybe it just shows that there's a fire that happened there. That would kind of draw your attention, and you'd look at it and then you'd see that in that date, the opera house, burnt down or whatever it is. So we'll try to use different ways of coming at it and mix it up a little bit so it doesn't look like all the other signs. It'll have some uniqueness to it.
I think that's fine, Bob. I think if you do that and can get us anything back by the end of our next meeting, we'll say go, and we'll get the thing built. And I can't believe that they're going to yank the $2,000 on us because we can't get this accomplished in this last, our last 2 meetings at least, or 3 meetings that we haven't even been able to meet. I just don't see them saying, well, we're not going to give you the money because of that. So I know there's some pressure and we're supposed to get it spent, but let's move on, try to get something, drafted up, and then we'll make a decision from there. And maybe Paula can send off something to them saying we're working on it steadily and we're very close. We're just trying to fine tune with this stuff that's going on. We're just having a hard time fine tuning it.
I will reach out to them.
I think you can say that, your historic research has been progressing and you're just missing a few things that needs a little bit more research. You could show them the example that we provided and say it's going to look something like this. And then you could show that you could have the minutes of this meeting demonstrating that, you're moving forward. And we can make a projection that we're going to try to meet that deadline. But, if we don't, we're probably going to ask for an additional month or so.
Correct. Exactly. I agree completely.
I think the original deadline was set because of their fiscal year end. I think that's all it is. They're trying to spend their money by their fiscal year end. There's no more to it than that. So I'll reach out and let them know that, we're having trouble with everything and we'll get it figured out.
But like Bob said, you could at least show them what we're trying to accomplish, and we're real close to having that done.
Yeah, I think they know what we're doing, and I think that, they'll probably be fine with that. But I will reach out to them. If not, then we'll do what we can to try and get it spent.
Okay. Thanks a ton, Bob.
No problem. Thank you.
Do you have anything else, or was that it?
Well, I guess the update on the amphitheater, you probably all know it, but we do have a signed contract now, so we're in process of putting some orders together, and the contractor is starting to move on the project. So that's underway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I want to thank the council for, stepping up. I mean, I think it was a big decision for the council to be able to make that type of contribution. And it really says a lot again of what they believe in that can be. I was very impressed, and thank you very much.
Sounds good. We'll look forward to maybe having you keep us updated on how it's going and what's going on with it.
Sounds good. We'll see.
Okay, I guess the next thing is I would assume that everyone has read the minutes from before. If we can just take a roll call on approving them. Paula, would that be all right?
Do you have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second by Sharon Woods.
All right, roll call. Brink,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Let's do the treasurer's report real quick. We need the same, a motion and a second.
Culpepper make the motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Can we get a second?
Am
This
I
is
able
Sharon
to
Woods
second?
for a second.
There we go.
Okay, Brink,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, looks like Justin has joined us, and if he wants to try to, if you'd like to try to talk to us and let us know what's going on, go ahead and we'll let you have the floor.
Can do. So at this time, thank you for having us. Carmen is with me as well. We talked with you last month about your DDA plan and the updates that we're going to be making to it over the next month or so. And I wanted to just go over a couple of things tonight to show you where we've gone since meeting with you last and what we've done. So what you have on your screen right now is the beginning of our projects rundown that will be in the updated DDA plan. You currently have your adopted in 2017 DDA Community Improvements Plan, and that's where your specific projects are. What we want to do within the development plan itself is identify what are the eligible activities to which the DDA can spend increment capture on. And so I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through each of these categories. I'll kind of quickly touch on them, but I wanted to at least read the opening paragraph here. It says the following categories are intended to identify eligible activities which the city of Laingsburg DDA will be permitted to utilize captured tax increment revenues to finance projects that enhance and improve the tax increment district. Again, we note that the specific projects that you'll be working on will be found in that community improvements plan, not in this plan. So we just want to make sure that's that way. So as you do want to go forward and do projects, you don't have to amend your development plan every time you want to bring a new project in or every time a project is completed. So what we're doing here is saying these are the categories to which are eligible for financing or funding through DDA tax increment capture. So we have business development, which is trying to bring new business into downtown and focusing on bringing new business into downtown. Public spaces, again, this is related to enhancing your public spaces, including pedestrian plazas, parks, restrooms, gardens, gazebos, and your soon-to-be concert shell or concert park. Anything related to marketing or doing development studies and promotional materials for the DDA. So if you were to do a marketing implementation plan, I know within your community improvement plan, you speak a lot to your marketing implementation there. So this just goes to support that. On to the next page, building and facade improvements, sign improvements, what you just discussed about signs are eligible activities, of course. Property acquisition, special downtown and urban design plans. So if you wanted to have a downtown specific master plan or design guidelines created specifically to how new buildings would be constructed within the downtown or how existing buildings should be renovated within the downtown, that would be an eligible activity under the plan. We have demolition. So if the DDA were to acquire property or if there were properties in the downtown that need to be demolished as a public purpose, then those costs would be eligible. We have both public and private infrastructure. We thought that it was important to note that here, that you are eligible to support private infrastructure in development projects as a matter of public good, especially if it's for a new development in which new tax increment revenue will be generated to the community. So this could include parking, it could include utility fees or underground utilities, water and sewer tap fees. But you have the right to determine how and when to support this, but we wanted to make sure to at least put it in here. We have site preparation, which could include clearing, cutting, dewatering, excavation of unstable materials, environmental activities. We wanted to include gap funding. This is a new one for you, and not many communities allow this through their development plan. This is something that we've been bringing to communities in the last few years. Essentially, what this does is it allows you to utilize what we call project-specific tax increment capture to help a developer meet the financing needs of the project. So if a developer came to you with a 2 or 3 story mixed-use building or something along that line, and said it's going to cost me $10 million to build the building, I can finance $8.5 million. That last $1.5 million you could help with by utilizing project-specific tax increment capture. So we wanted to make sure that was in here to give you an extra tool to help support your downtown redevelopment. We have consultation and operational expenditures identified, as well as public buildings, assisting in with the support or redevelopment of any public buildings. So I know, again, I kind of went through this quickly, and I'll email this to Paula so she can share it with you to let you read through it in a little bit more detail. But in the meantime, are there any questions on this category list and anything that may be eligible as an eligible expense or financing activity through this process?
I think it all looks good to me. I don't know if anyone else has a comment. Is there anything we can't do?
Well, it would have to be anything that you identified to finance would have to be identified or correlated to these categories. So if it definitely did not fit one of these categories, then it would be something that's not likely to be done. But we made these categories pretty broad that it would be pretty difficult to find something that you might not be able to do under these categories. But Carmen might want to add in on that.
Just that, as we mentioned at the previous meeting, we want to keep these categories so broad. I mean, there's still some specificities you can see, but we want them so broad that most anything you can think of physically and even some operational type things are included in here. So I don't know, I've racked my brains out trying to find other things you could fit in there, and it's kind of tough. But as Justin mentioned too, your specific projects can be in your improvement plan. So if you do happen to think of anything as we're going through the review process, please let us know, because we want to make sure we cover everything once again, so you don't have to update it if we don't think of it.
Sure.
This is basically your first draft of this anyway, correct? I mean, and then we can review it and then we'll go from there.
Correct. And I could just show you the remaining draft. I have a larger draft than this that has all of the legalese that's required as part of the DDA Act. And I didn't think I needed to show you all of that tonight. It's just basically responding to each section of the act and what your plans are for, you know, relocation of persons within the district, or you name it. There's a number of items. So that stuff's already done and addressed. This is kind of the meat and potatoes for the development plan side. And then the second piece I have to show you tonight is the meat and potatoes on the tax increment finance side, which is our projections. And I can switch over to that now. Just one second. So you should see on your screen now an Excel table, and this is our projections of the baseline value of the tax increment district now. So when you started the district in 1990, you had a base value of the district of $1,139,000. In 2021, that increment now is $3,808,578. The value of the district. So you can see you've gained some pretty good value in the district since starting the DDA. All this table does now is shows a projected 2% increase in the district value over the next 30-year period. So this baseline number, we are projecting to show the same with that 2% increase. Each year, you can see at the end of the 30 years, the taxable value of that district could be $6,898,712. And I say could be because this is just a projection. We're making an assumption of 2% growth year over year. But as we're learning every day now through the COVID-19 pandemic, the economy is finicky and can fluctuate. So you may have years that you have good growth, that could be 3 or 4% growth. You may have years of negative growth. So this is just our sort of projected out over 30 years. What might it look like? So there's no guarantee that this 6 million, 6.8 million or 6.9 million will be there in 30 years. Secondly,
Justin, if I could jump in on one point, just for information purposes, we've put 30 years in here. And that's about as far out as you can go. If you get a lot of objections, you can always cut it back to 25. The other thing to keep in mind too, on these tables, we're doing our best to give a guesstimate to show somebody who's reading it what the potential tax capture looks like per the state act. But don't worry about, oh, we're not exact here. We're not, I mean, it's pretty detailed, but don't worry about it if we're off by $1 here or there, or, you know, you find out in 2 or 3 years that it's different than what you're showing here. It's more of a representation within the plan itself. And that's all that's required under the act.
The second table here, we wanted to show the taxable value, again, the growth, the increment capture of growth over that time multiplied by the millage. This is the number starting in 2021 that the DDA can expect to see. Again, not specific, so it may be, it could be anywhere probably between 50,000 and 75,000, but just based on the growth projection and the actual millage rate and the growth in the taxable value of the district over time, the increment capture, this is what we could expect. So by the end of the 30-year period, the DDA could expect to see somewhere around 3 million in total captured revenues to finance projects within the district. This last table is intended to show the increment capture and impact to the taxing jurisdictions within the district. So we have the county general operating millage here, county senior, county medical, MSU extension. There are 2 veterans, PA 214 and a veterans voted millage that are captured. And then under the city, you have general operating, library, and fire. And those millages, as you can see, I've got them here for a total of 25,365, correlating to here. And this is basically, again, showing each year what that impact may be from your capture to those local taxing jurisdictions. So with that, again, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. These are, again, just projections. Nothing is set in stone at this time, but it gives you an idea of where you're potentially going if the economy were to stay growing at 2% over the next 30 years.
Justin, if I could add one more thing to that also, because we're just showing a 2% annual increase. I mean, you could get a 2% annual increase without a lot of new investment. But what this doesn't take into consideration, because we can't know that, is let's say you do, we have that rebate program basically here to incentivize project specific deals. And let's say that you, for a particular project, you rebate back the tax increment for that specific project for like 10 years. Well, after 10 years is over, that increment is all going to go back into the DDA. So these numbers after 10 years would jump up significantly, potentially. Mm-hmm. And if you have multiple projects that have different timeframes, that could also impact your tax capture positively. So these do not take that into consideration. This is just a 2% annual increase. It covers just the normal increase of property values and regular improvements to properties. It doesn't include any monumental type projects, any groundbreaking type projects.
Right, and where you could see some really good growth is potentially development of city-owned sites within the district. So if those sites are currently, capturing zero tax because they're city-owned, and you sell those and they're developed, you're gonna get a nice little jump in your budget. So aside from that, that is all I have for this evening. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Paula has these tables now. I emailed them to her earlier today, but I will also email the document with the eligible activity categories for you to be able to review. And then any questions you have after tonight, you can either direct them directly through Paula to us, or you can email us. Either way is fine by me.
Okay, hopefully no one has any major questions. Justin, if you can email her that rough draft, and then she can get it out to us. I did get this from her already. But if we could get those and go over it, and then maybe next month we can finalize or come close to finalizing that whole process.
Yep, I will email those right away.
Anyone else have any questions for Justin or Cameron? Sounds like we're good. Thank you very much, and maybe we'll see you next month.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.
Paula, do you have anything on your bucket list?
Nope, you guys covered it. Those were my 2 things.
Does Dave? We've kind of missed out on Dave, and I kind of feel bad that we haven't been able to ask him if he's needed any help for anything. I know that he's kind of just took over here not too long ago, and it's kind of like we've avoided him, but it's not. That's not the issue. If he needs something and wants to relay that to us somehow, he's more than welcome to do so.
I sent him an invite to this meeting. I wonder if he just forgot, because he was gonna join us. Well,
Okay.
I don't think he has anything right now. I've already asked him to work on the frame for the sign, so he's doing that. That's all I know right now.
Does anyone else have anything that they would like to bring up or discuss? Sounds reasonably quiet. I guess we can call it a night, and you can go watch your TV instead of watching each other.
Motion to adjourn.
We'll adjourn. And we'll see you next month, hopefully in person.
Sounds good. Good night.
Night.
Thank you.